I should have guessed something was off the moment I pulled into the driveway and saw the blinds half closed, the way they used to be when my ex-sister-in-law, Raina, stayed over. My son, Tyler, never cared about blinds. He'd leave them open at midnight and complain about streetlights. But I was too focused on the surprise I'd planned to notice the warning signs. I'd driven 4 hours from Albany after getting approval for a week off, my first uninterrupted break in nearly a year. I'd even stopped at this little diner off I-90 to buy Tyler's favorite chipped paint ceramic mug, the one with the faded baseball logo. He'd dropped the original last year during my weekend visit and laughed it off, saying it gave him character. I tucked the new one under my arm as I walked to the front door, already imagining his face. I knocked once, then twice. Ty. It's me. Nothing. I pressed my ear to the door. I heard movement, quick, shuffled, anxious. Then the lock clicked. The door opened a crack, just enough for me to see one of his brown eyes. Dad? What are you doing here? Before I could answer, he stepped out, pulled the door almost shut behind him, and stood on the porch like I was a salesman he needed to get rid of. I thought I'd surprise you, I said, lifting the mug in a half-hearted flourish. His shoulders tightened. You shouldn't be here right now. The sting hit fast, sharp, and humiliating. I hadn't expected balloons or a marching band, but I hadn't expected rejection either. Especially not from the kid I'd driven through snowstorms for, the kid whose fourth-grade science fair project we'd built together in my tiny apartment kitchen. Tyler, I said quietly, is everything okay? That's when he did it. He stepped back, slipped inside, and slammed the door. Right in my face. The mug nearly slid from my hand. For a long moment, I just stared at the wood grain. There wasn't anger yet, just cold confusion settling under my ribs. I knocked again, softer. Ty. Please. Footsteps retreated. A second door, inside, opened. Then silence. I walked back to my car and sat inside with the mug on my lap. I called him. Straight to voicemail. I texted. Delivered, but unread. My ex-wife, Jenna, and I had our problems, too many to count, but she always encouraged my relationship with Tyler. At least, that's what I'd believed. I dialed her number. She picked up on the fourth ring, her voice already defensive. Mark, I'm in the middle of something. Ty won't open the door. A pause. Paper rustled on her end. You should have called before showing up. I wanted to surprise him. Well, maybe he doesn't want surprises. It's not like him. My throat tightened. Jenna, something's wrong. Another pause, longer, heavier. Look, he's had a rough week. Just, give him space. It didn't sit right. None of it did. I tried knocking again 20 minutes later. Still no answer. Then, as I stepped off the porch, something metallic glinted beneath the doormat. A brass key, old, scratched, the kind that belonged to the original lock we replaced years ago. Tyler used to play with it as a toddler, pretending it opened secret treasure doors. I picked it up and turned it in my hand. Why was it out here? I slid it into my pocket just as a voice called out from across the yard. Mark. It was our next-door neighbor, Mrs. Hanley, watering her azaleas in her oversized Red Sox sweatshirt. She was the kind of woman who noticed everything without ever admitting she noticed anything. Didn't expect to see you, she said, lowering the hose. Thought Jenna told you about the situation. My stomach dropped. What situation? Her lips pressed together. She looked toward my house, then back at me with the cautious regret of someone who's already said too much. Maybe you should talk to Tyler. I tried. He slammed the door on me. Her eyebrows rose. Oh. Mrs. Hanley, I said, lowering my voice, is he safe? Oh, he's safe. Just, under pressure. She hesitated again. You didn't hear that from me. Pressure. From who? For what? She offered me a sympathetic nod before turning her hose back on, but her eyes reflected something sharper, pity, maybe. Or warning. I walked back to the porch. I wasn't leaving. Not until I understood why my son had looked scared, yes, scared, when he saw me. I sat on the steps for almost 2 hours, replaying every conversation I'd had with him over the past month. He'd seemed normal. School was fine. His friends were fine. Jenna was fine. But now that I thought about it, he'd been more rushed. Quick to hang up. As if someone were listening. And that's when I noticed the small black rectangle above the porch light. A new doorbell camera. Not the one I'd installed years ago. I stood, stepped closer, and pressed the button. Nothing. No chime. I waved a hand in front of it. A faint red light blinked once, then died. It wasn't connected. Or someone had turned it off. I took out my phone and snapped a picture. Habit. I worked in building maintenance for a school district, and documenting faulty devices had become second nature. The door creaked open behind me. Tyler stood there, pale, eyes darting over my shoulder toward Mrs. Hanley's house. Dad, he whispered, you need to go. Why? I asked. Who told you to say that? His jaw trembled. Please. Ty, talk to me. I'm your father. His gaze flicked behind him, into the dark hallway. I can't. Not here. I lowered my voice. Is someone inside with you? He hesitated, just long enough for fear to show. Then he pulled the door shut again, softer this time, but firm. Final. I stood alone on the porch, my hand still half raised. Something was very wrong in that house. And whatever it was, my son was terrified to say it out loud. I gripped the brass key in my pocket, the edges digging into my palm. If he couldn't open the door for me now, I'd find out who had convinced him to close it. And why they were so afraid of me finding out. The reason, it turned out, would shock me in ways I never imagined. I sat in my car long after the porch light clicked off, the brass key still in my fist. The air inside the cabin felt tight, stale, like it belonged to someone else. Every few minutes I replayed the way Tyler looked over his shoulder, the twitch in his jaw, the fear he tried to swallow. That wasn't normal teenage embarrassment. That wasn't, Dad, leave me alone. That was pressure. The kind Mrs. Hanley hinted at. I finally started the engine, but I didn't drive away. Instead, I looped the block twice, parking halfway down the street where I had a clear line of sight on the house. I told myself it wasn't spying. I just needed to understand what was happening. I wasn't trespassing, I wasn't yelling, I wasn't demanding anything. I was watching the home I used to pay the mortgage on, the home where my son now feared speaking to me. At 10:13 p.m., the living room light flicked on. A shadow crossed the window, broad-shouldered, stiff posture. Not Tyler. Too tall. For a second I thought it was Jenna's new boyfriend, that accountant she'd been dating. But the shape moved like someone older. More rigid. Familiar in the worst way. No. They wouldn't. My phone buzzed, unknown number, local area code. I picked up. Mark. The voice sent a cold rush through me. It was Raina. Why are you around the house this late? She asked. You're making Tyler anxious. Her tone wasn't concerned. It was controlling. The same passive-aggressive sweetness she used to use when she lived with us, temporarily, during her divorce. I steadied my breathing. I came to see my son. He slammed the door on me. Well, maybe he doesn't want a surprise drop-in. That's not unreasonable. It is when he's scared, I said. What are you doing at the house? A single beat of silence. Then, I'm helping family. Not that it concerns you. It concerns me if you're living there. Another pause, longer. An inhaled threat. Jenna's not feeling well, she said. I'm staying to help. It's temporary. Temporary. The last time she used that word, she lived with us for 11 months, micromanaging everything from how we arranged silverware to how often Tyler needed structure. Before I could speak again, she added, "Don't show up unannounced anymore. Tyler needs stability. He needs his father." Click. I stared at the call-ended screen until the dim phone light blurred. Something was deeply wrong. Raina wasn't just staying there, she had authority. Over the house. Over Tyler. Over the story being told about me. I leaned back against the headrest and rubbed my temples. Raina had always resented me. I was the one who called her out when she borrowed Jenna's money without paying it back. The one who told her to find her own apartment instead of freeloading. The one who refused to sign on as a guarantor when she ruined her credit. But this was more than resentment. This felt like a setup. I drove to the nearest late-night diner, ordered a coffee I barely touched, and spent an hour scrolling through old texts between me and Tyler. 3 weeks ago he'd sent me a picture of a bracelet he'd made in metal shop, thin, silver, with tiny stamped letters. "Braver than you think." He said he was going to give it to Jenna for her birthday. His messages were warm, normal, full of jokes. Something changed between then and now. I stared down at the chipped mug I'd brought, now sitting across the diner table. The baseball logo was barely visible. I pushed it away and pulled out the brass key instead, placing it next to my untouched coffee. The waitress glanced at it as she refilled my cup. "Old key," she said. "Haven't seen one like that in a while." "It belonged to my house," I murmured. "Years ago." "Strange place to find it now," she said, wandering off. "Strange." "Yeah. I didn't sleep. I went back to the street around 2 a.m., parking under a burnt-out lamppost. My breath fogged the windshield as I watched the house. Everything stayed dark. No movement. No shadows passing the curtains. At sunrise, I drove to the school district's office, the one where I worked. I wasn't on the schedule, but I needed access to the tool cage. More specifically, the ladder. And a pair of wire cutters. I told myself it wasn't illegal. The house was still legally half mine until the refinance was finalized. That paperwork had been dragging for months. Back at the house, I waited until noon. Jenna's car wasn't in the driveway. Tyler's school-issued Chromebook was visible through the front window, screen open, the glow faint. But a second car sat in the driveway. A silver Nissan. Raina's. I waited until I saw her silhouette past the kitchen window, then disappear deeper into the house. I stepped out of the car, grabbed the ladder, and walked calmly up to the porch light. The disconnected doorbell camera bothered me. If it wasn't working, they weren't using it. But the wiring looked cut, not unplugged. I knelt and examined it, taking another photo. As I lowered my phone, a voice behind me said, "What do you think you're doing?" I turned slowly. Raina stood there, arms crossed, expression sharp as broken glass. Her hair was pulled back too tight, the way she always wore it when she wanted to intimidate someone. "I'm fixing your faulty wiring," I said. "Someone cut it." She scoffed. "You're trespassing. This porch is still half mine." "It won't be for long," she said. "We're finalizing the refinance next week." My chest tightened. Since when? Since Jenna realized we needed stability. For Tyler. She practically spat the name, as if it were something she owned. "You complicate things. I'm his father. A father who shows up uninvited and loiters in the dark like a stalker." The accusation sliced through me. "I came to see my son." "Well, he doesn't want to see you." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Did he say that? Or did you? Her jaw twitched. Before she could answer, the front door cracked open. Tyler poked his head out, eyes wide, cheeks flushed. "Aunt Raina," he said shakily. Can I talk to Dad? Please." Raina snapped her attention toward him. "Not now." He winced, like the words physically hurt him. "I just want to tell him something," he whispered. "No," her voice hardened. "Go to your room." I saw it then, Tyler's shoulders shrinking, his eyes dulling. He obeyed without arguing. Without looking at me. Without breathing. Something clenched inside me. A memory of how he used to run into my arms. How he used to tell me everything. Raina stepped between me and the door. "Leave, Mark. You're upsetting him." I took a breath to steady the anger crawling under my skin. "He's not upset because I'm here. He's upset because he's scared." "Of you," she snapped. "We all know it." I blinked. "What?" She smirked. "Jenna filed a note with the Housing Commission. Said you've been unstable lately." My heart stopped. "That's a lie." She shrugged. "Well, it's on record." I felt the world tilt, as if gravity shifted. Housing Commission. Why? For what? And why now? I tried to push past her, but she blocked me. "Leave," she said again, low and venomous. "Before I call the police." I forced myself to back away, not because I was afraid of her, but because Tyler was watching from a crack in the blinds. His eyes were glassy. Apologetic. Desperate. When I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A text. From Tyler. A single photo. A screenshot of a document. My name. The house address. Secondary occupant subject to removal if deemed disruptive to primary custodian and guardian per clause 14b. I stared at it, lost in the cold realization. Someone had dug up an old lease amendment from years ago, one we'd signed in desperation during the divorce. And someone was using it to push me out of my son's life. I typed a quick reply, "We'll talk soon. I promise." Tyler's response came 10 seconds later. "Please help me. But not here." I drove 10 miles in a direction I didn't plan, my hands tight on the wheel, my pulse thudding in a way that made every passing mile marker blur. I wasn't running, I was trying to think. Tyler's message looped in my head, "Please help me. But not here." He wasn't just uncomfortable. He was trapped. I pulled into a small convenience store lot off Route 6 and parked beneath a crooked security lamp. The hum of passing cars steadied me enough to breathe. I texted Tyler, "Where can we talk?" 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then. School library parking lot. 4:30, she won't follow me there. She, Raina. Not Mom. Not they. She. I stared at the timestamp. It was barely 1:10 now. I had 3 hours to figure out how deep this went, how someone dug up clause 14b, an obscure section from a temporary occupancy agreement we'd signed during the messy early divorce months. I hadn't thought of that clause in years. It was a relic from a bad time when I was sleeping on a friend's sofa and the lawyers insisted on clear custodial boundaries. But it was never meant to be used this way. I reached for my glove compartment, pulled out the battered folder I kept there, old receipts, the refinance paperwork Jenna had sent me last spring, a few loose notes from my attorney. I flipped through the refinance packet. Page 6 had the numbers circled, my buyout amount, her proposed timeline. But stuck between those pages was something I didn't remember placing there. A printed notice from the Housing Commission. Dated 2 weeks ago. Stamped as received. With my name listed under secondary occupant, review pending. I hadn't been notified. I hadn't been asked to sign anything. And I sure as hell hadn't received the usual mailed copy. Someone had intercepted it. Someone had opened it. Someone had then slipped it into my folder, assuming I wouldn't look until it was too late. A cold realization washed over me. I pictured Raina gathering mail while helping out, sorting envelopes, tossing things, hiding others. She'd always been bold with paperwork. She once filled out a credit card application using Jenna's info until I confronted her. She was capable of this. More than capable. My phone buzzed again. A voicemail from my supervisor, Sam. "Hey, Mark, got a call from a woman claiming you're unstable and might be stepping down. Just checking." My stomach plunged. I hit delete before it finished. She was spreading this beyond the house. She was poisoning the ground around me, one call at a time. I drove to the school district maintenance hub next. Sam was outside, wiping his hands on a rag as I pulled in. "Everything okay?" he asked. "She sounded pretty sure you were going through something." "She?" I asked, even though I didn't need to. "Raina said you weren't safe to be around students." The rage hit hard and fast, but I swallowed it. "It's not true," I said. "I'm dealing with a family issue." "That's it." Sam frowned. "You good to work tomorrow?" "Yes." "Then don't let people who aren't your coworkers dictate your reputation." He tossed the rag into a bucket. "Document everything. People like her thrive when you don't." He was right. So I did. I photographed the envelope. I wrote down the time of the voicemail. I saved screenshots of Tyler's texts. Proof wasn't just useful, it was protection. At 4:15, I parked behind the school library. The lot was mostly empty, just a few leftover cars from teachers staying late. I stepped out and leaned against the hood, trying to appear calm though adrenaline ricocheted through me. At 4:32, I saw him. Tyler walked toward me, backpack slung low, steps small and stiff. The moment he reached the front of the car, he didn't speak, he just threw his arms around me. His shoulders shook. "I'm sorry," he choked. "I didn't mean to slam the door." She was right behind me. "She said if I let you in, I'd lose my gaming privileges." "She said you were dangerous." "Dad, you're not dangerous." I don't believe her. I held him tighter. "None of this is your fault." He pulled back, wiping his face with his sleeve. His voice wavered. "She watches everything I do. She checks my phone. She reads my messages to Mom. He bit his lip, tears welling. She even told the school counselor that I was acting out because of you." My breath caught. "The school counselor? What did she say?" "She told them you've been erratic and dropping by unannounced to cause distress. She said the refinance has been delayed because you won't cooperate." "But Mom," he stopped, shook his head. "Mom doesn't even know she said that. She thinks Aunt Raina's helping. Jenna wasn't a bad person, she could be overwhelmed, oblivious, too trusting. But she wasn't malicious. Which meant Raina was operating alone. Manipulating both sides." "I know about the clause," Tyler said quietly. "The 14B thing. She found it in an old binder. I saw her the day she was copying it. She said she was preparing for the transition, and that you'd eventually be removed if you caused disruption." I crouched so I was at eye level with him. "You didn't do anything wrong. And you aren't responsible for fixing this. I'll handle it." Tyler hesitated, then unzipped his backpack and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "I printed this at school so she wouldn't see." He handed it to me. "It's from the property record site. I don't know what it means, but, look." I unfolded it. A property ID report. The lot information. The last refinance attempt. And at the bottom, small, but clear. Co-owner signatures required for any custodial status changes involving minors. My signature. Jenna's. Not Raina's. Raina had no legal standing. No authority. No right to file anything. My pulse steadied. A direction was forming. Ty, I said softly, have you told your mom any of this? He swallowed. I tried. But Aunt Raina always interrupts. And Mom's been tired lately. She said she needs help around the house, and Aunt Raina does everything before Mom even notices. Of course she did. Control everything. Appear indispensable. Tyler's voice dropped. I found something else. He dug into his backpack, pulling out his Chromebook. When the house Wi-Fi went down yesterday, Aunt Raina tried fixing the router. She left it open. And I saw something on her screen before she closed it. He tapped an image file. A time-stamped draft email. Addressed to the Housing Commission. Written from Jenna's account. But signed, incorrectly, using Jenna's middle name. Jenna never used her middle name. The message accused me of erratic behavior and requested that the home refinance process be expedited to protect the minor in residence. My chest tightened. She forged this? Tyler nodded. She said she was editing something for Mom. But Mom doesn't even know her password. I do, Mom gives it to me when she forgets it. I took a long breath, feeling clarity settle in like puzzle pieces clicking into place. This wasn't chaos. This was a plan. A structured, deliberate one. Ty, I said, you did the right thing. None of this leaves your shoulders. I'm going to take this information and make sure you're safe. His eyes darted around the lot. She's going to be mad I left the house. She won't know where you are until you get back, I said. And you're allowed to talk to your father. She doesn't control that. Tyler reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object. I think you should have this. He placed it in my hand, a bracelet. The metal one from his shop class. Braver than you think. I closed my hand over it. Thank you. He exhaled unsteadily. Dad, please don't let her win. I put a hand on his shoulder. I won't. As he walked back toward the main road to catch the bus home, I stood by the car and made a single decision that felt heavier than the brass key still in my pocket. I wasn't going to react. I was going to uncover. Document. Prepare. The next move wasn't going to be loud. It was going to be precise. And it started with the one person whose name was on every legal document next to mine. Jenna. I drove to Jenna's place of work, an insurance office off Maple Ridge, without fully deciding what I'd say. My mind was juggling too many things at once: Tyler's fear, Raina's forged email, the clause she'd weaponized, the stamped notice hidden in my paperwork. But underneath everything was the tightening clarity that Jenna had no idea what her sister was doing in her name. I parked in a visitor's space and waited until the lunch hour crowd began trickling out. Jenna stepped outside at 12:07 exactly, hair in a loose bun, cardigan sliding off one shoulder, to-go salad in hand, exhaustion written all over her posture. That alone told me enough: she wasn't orchestrating anything. She was drowning, and Raina had stepped in with a lifeguard smile and a shark's intention. She spotted me, eyes widening. Mark? What are you doing here? I need to talk to you, I said. Privately. She hesitated only a moment before nodding and leading me to her car. When the doors were closed, she sighed. I know Tyler slammed the door. I talked to him. He said he panicked. He didn't mean. It's not about the door, I said quietly. I pulled the printed property ID and the forged email screenshot from my jacket pocket. Jenna, I need you to look at these. Her forehead creased as she scanned the property report first. This. I know this. This is from the county site. Why? Look at the email. I watched the color drain from her face. It was subtle at first, a twitch in her jaw, a soft tremble in her lower lip. I didn't write this, she whispered. I know. I didn't send it. I know. She pressed a shaking hand to her forehead. Raina said she was drafting a message about scheduling with the commission. She said she'd show it to me later, but she never, oh my God. I kept my tone steady. Jenna, she forged it. Tyler saw her on your account. And she's using Clause 14b as justification to label me a disruptive occupant. She contacted my supervisor. She filed a review. She intercepted the official notice. She's been lying to Tyler. And to you. Jenna leaned back against the seat, eyes shining with shame and disbelief. I thought she was helping, she said softly. She's been doing the laundry, cleaning, picking up groceries, organizing the refinance paperwork. She said I was falling behind and she didn't mind stepping in. I didn't see, how did I not see? Because you've been tired. And she's done what she always does, make herself indispensable so she can control everything. Jenna covered her mouth. Oh God. Oh God. I let her stay. I let her take over. She said Tyler needed structure. I shook my head. He needs safety. And right now, he doesn't have that. A tear slipped down her cheek. Not dramatic. Not loud. Just quiet regret. Mark, she murmured, what have I allowed into my house? We can fix this, I said. But I need your help. She looked at me, really looked, and nodded once. Tell me what to do. I laid it out carefully, making sure guilt didn't twist into self-blame. First, you need to change your password. Everything, email, bank login, commission portal. Now. She took out her phone, fingers trembling, and began resetting accounts. I waited until she finished all 5 passwords before continuing. Next, I said, you need to call the Housing Commission and clarify that you did not file the review request. Tell them it was unauthorized. Jenna flinched. Will they believe me? You're the primary custodian. And I have evidence. Raina typed it from your account using the wrong middle name. That alone proves she didn't have your input. She took a shaky breath. Okay. Last thing, I said, I need temporary access to the house. Not to confront her. To gather evidence. Tyler's scared. He's been monitored. She cut the doorbell camera wiring. She's isolating him. That's not disciplinary. That's coercive. Jenna's expression hardened, not anger at me, but at someone else. Someone she'd trusted. Someone who'd slipped into her home like a shadow claiming to be light. I'll handle the house, she said, voice firming. Tonight. I'll ask her to stay at her place for a while. I'll tell her I need space to clean up paperwork. I'll take Tyler with me. I shook my head. No. If she realizes you're onto her, she'll escalate. She'll spin a story about you being overwhelmed, unstable, easily manipulated by me. She's already laid that groundwork. She wouldn't, Jenna began, then stopped. Her silence was answer enough. I exhaled. We need her to think nothing's wrong. So what do we do? I pulled the brass key from my pocket, feeling the familiar weight. I found this under the doormat. Jenna frowned. Why would she put that out? She didn't. I think Tyler dropped it. I think it was his way of saying he wants me to get inside. Shock rippled across Jenna's face. He couldn't say it out loud. No. She swallowed hard. When? Tomorrow morning, I said. You leave for work as normal. Tyler goes to school. Let Raina think it's an ordinary day. I'll go in after they leave. Quietly. I'll gather everything, emails, drafts, call logs, timestamped router settings, anything she's been tampering with. Jenna bit her lip. And then? Then you and I go together to the commission. With evidence. You withdraw the review. You clarify the refinance timeline. And you state, clearly, that no third party has authority in your home. Her breath shook, but she nodded. I'll do it. For Tyler. Just as she said his name, her phone buzzed. A message. She turned the screen slightly so I could read it. Raina, checking in. Has Tyler mentioned anything strange? He's been acting off. Let me know if we need to intervene. Intervene. My fists clenched. Jenna stared at the message, horrified. She talks about my son like he's a case study. She talks about him like he's hers, I corrected. Jenna locked her phone. This ends now. We drove separately back toward our homes, but halfway there my phone vibrated. A message from Tyler. Aunt Raina's cleaning out the mail drawer. She keeps shredding stuff. She told Mom she's organizing. Dad, she has Mom's signature stamp. The one Mom used before she switched to digital forms. My pulse kicked hard. A signature stamp. That meant the forged email wasn't the only thing she was preparing. She was planning to sign something bigger. Something legally binding. Something irreversible. The brass key in my pocket felt heavier, like it had absorbed the weight of what was coming. I texted him back. Keep calm. You're okay. We're fixing this. But as I turned onto my street and saw Raina's silver Nissan still in the driveway, parked almost diagonally, the way she always parked when she planned to stay a while, I knew tomorrow wasn't just about evidence. It was about beating her clock. Because Raina wasn't waiting anymore. She was accelerating. I barely slept. I lay on the couch in my apartment with the bracelet in one hand and the brass key in the other, replaying every moment from the past 48 hours. Tyler's shaking voice. Jenna's horror. Raina's smirk as she blocked the doorway like a bouncer guarding a secret. By sunrise I was already dressed, pockets checked, phone fully charged, documents sealed inside a folder. I left the apartment before 6, driving with a quiet that felt too sharp to be peace. When I pulled onto Jenna's street, the house was still. A single lamp glowed in the living room, Jenna's doing, no doubt. She always turned on one lamp in the early morning so Tyler wouldn't stumble in the dark. At 7:14, Tyler left for school. He glanced down the road, spotted my car, and gave the faintest nod before jogging toward the bus stop. Raina didn't appear at the door. Good. At 7:28, Jenna stepped out, locking the door carefully. She didn't look toward me, just walked to her car with practiced normalcy, pulling out of the driveway at the same lazy pace she did every morning. At 7:34, the house settled into silence. At 7:37, Raina left. She walked out holding a tote bag stuffed with papers, phone between her shoulder and ear, arguing about proper filing and careless clerks. She slid into her silver Nissan, revved the engine too hard, she always drove like she was trying to outrun accountability, and sped off. The moment her taillights disappeared, I moved. I approached the porch, heart thudding with a mix of focus and dread. I slid the brass key into the old lock socket beneath the main one. It clicked, more from age than security, but the door didn't budge. Not because it was locked. Because the house had been left intentionally unsecured. I stepped inside quietly. The air smelled like the lemon cleaner Raina used too much of, the one that left everything sticky. The living room was overly neat, cushions perfectly aligned, remote controls squared like museum pieces, mail tray empty. Too empty. I closed the door behind me, careful not to let it creak. Jenna had once told me the doorframe swelled in humidity and made noise, but after years in maintenance, I knew a pressure point when I felt one. I pressed lightly, angled the handle just right, and eased it shut silently. I moved toward the mail drawer in the hallway. Tyler had said she was shredding things. When I opened the drawer, the smell of burnt plastic and heat hit me. The shredder beside it was still warm. I sifted through the small pile she hadn't tossed yet: grocery coupons, junk flyers, a community vote card for the upcoming school board meeting. Then, at the bottom, stuck behind the drawer's back edge, I found it. A torn envelope. Housing Commission logo. Stamped, action required, owner signature. My throat tightened. I turned it over. The flap was ripped, but part of the form inside remained. Section A, request for removal of secondary occupant. My name was typed on the first line. The signature field was blank. Blank, because she hadn't gotten Jenna's forged signature on this one yet. Good. I slid the half form into my folder and kept moving. I checked Jenna's desk next. Her laptop was closed, charger unplugged. But the browser had cached tabs, and when I opened one, a login screen popped up: Housing Commission portal. Password field empty. But next to it, a sticky note with one of Jenna's reminders. Except the handwriting wasn't Jenna's. It was too loopy, too decorative. Don't forget to finalize paperwork for the refinance adjustments. Adjustments. Adjustments that didn't exist. I snapped a photo of the sticky note. Then I moved to the modem near the TV. Tyler had mentioned the router. I crouched down, pulled it slightly forward, and checked the back. The Ethernet port had been tampered with, cables unplugged and replugged in a way that suggested she was monitoring which devices were connected. I popped open the admin page using the default local IP. The device history showed an unusual spike 3 nights ago: 2-hour intervals of repeated logins from the desktop account labeled Home Office R. I screenshotted the logs. Every click felt like stitching together a wound: slow, precise, necessary. I checked the kitchen next. A drawer held a signature stamp, the one Jenna used before she switched to digital forms. But the rubber was stained with fresh ink. I swallowed hard. Proof. As I closed the drawer, something caught my eye: a manila folder tucked beneath the fruit bowl. Too deliberate to be accidental. I slid it out carefully. Inside were copies, multiple, of documents Jenna hadn't signed yet: forms requesting updated custodial statuses, updates to mailing addresses, even a draft of a notarized affidavit. None of them had real signatures. All had been filled out by someone else. The handwriting matched the sticky note. Raina's. I photographed every page. Then, just as I placed them back exactly as they were, I heard something. A car. Pulling into the driveway. Too early. Panic surged, sharp and electric. I stepped to the window and peeked through the side of the curtain. Silver Nissan. My body snapped into motion. I backed down the hallway, slipped into the laundry room, and closed the door softly. The room was small, dryer humming faintly, detergent bottles lined on a shelf. I crouched behind the laundry basket just as the front door opened. Her footsteps clicked sharply across the floor. She wasn't supposed to be home yet. Her voice carried through the hall, low, irritated. I swear, if these clerks misfile one more thing, I'll... She froze. Then, more sharply, why is the door locked? My blood turned cold. She tried the lock again. Harder. The deadbolt clicked under her hand. Locked, from the inside. She exhaled through her nose. Angry. Suspicious. I heard her set her bags down. Then slow footsteps. Purposeful. One step. Another. A third. Moving toward the hallway. Toward the laundry room. I pressed myself tighter against the wall, heart hammering against my ribs like it wanted to escape. She walked past the room, paused, then reversed 2 steps. The doorknob rattled. I held my breath so tightly my lungs burned. She let out a sharp sigh. Why does it smell like dryer sheets in here? Jenna never uses these. Another pause. Then her phone rang. She answered. What? No, I'm not back early, I just needed, yes, I'll send it when I get the signature. She's at work. She'll sign tonight. My stomach dropped. She was planning to get Jenna's signature by force. Or deceit. Or exhaustion. She continued down the hall, unaware she'd come within inches of me. She opened the fridge. Slammed it. Muted cursing. Papers rustling. Footsteps returning to the living room. Then, the front door slammed behind her as she stepped out again. When I was certain she was gone, I waited a full 90 seconds before emerging. My shirt was damp with sweat. My hands trembled. But I had the folder. The screenshots. The shredded mail. The forged drafts. The signature stamp. The router logs. Everything. I left the house carefully, pulling the door shut the same way she had found it, locked against itself, misaligned. Not suspicious. As soon as I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A text from Jenna. She asked me to meet her at the house tonight to sign something. I'm scared now. I typed fast. Don't sign anything. We're going to the commission office first thing tomorrow. Her reply came instantly. I'm with you. Whatever happens, we protect Tyler. As I drove away from the house, the folder on the seat beside me felt heavier than any toolbox I'd ever carried. Because evidence wasn't just proof. It was a shield. And by tomorrow morning, that shield was going to expose every carefully placed lie Raina had built her control around. The night felt longer than the entire past week combined. I didn't go home. Instead, I spread every piece of evidence across the passenger seat and dashboard of my car, hazard lights blinking in an abandoned strip mall parking lot. I kept the engine running just enough to give me heat. My breath fogged on the windshield between waves of adrenaline. The screenshots. The half-shredded mail. The forged drafts. The sticky note with the wrong handwriting. The router logs. The signature stamp stained with fresh ink. And the brass key, sitting in the cup holder like it belonged there. I rearranged everything in exact order, labeling what was mine, what was Tyler's, what was Jenna's. Tomorrow had to be clean, calm, organized. The commission office wouldn't tolerate panic or incoherence. That suited me. I didn't want theatrics. I wanted truth. At 10 p.m., Jenna texted. She keeps circling the living room. She won't sit down. She keeps telling me we need to finalize things tonight so we don't fall behind. Mark, she locked the mail drawer with a tiny padlock. A padlock. Exactly what someone does when they've been caught snooping. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. I called Jenna immediately, but I didn't speak at first, I listened. Her voice was hushed. She's in the hallway now. She thinks I'm upstairs. Are you safe? For now. Don't confront her. Not tonight. Stay calm. Stay out of her way. Jenna breathed shallowly. She keeps pacing near Tyler's door. He's pretending to sleep, but I can hear him turning in bed. The image made my blood run cold. Keep Tyler in your room tonight, I said. Lock the door if you need to. She'll notice. Let her think he had a nightmare. Jenna exhaled shakily. Mark, I'm so sorry I let her get this close. This isn't your fault, I said firmly. She targeted you when you were tired. She targeted Tyler. She used your home as a stage. Silence. Painful, quiet silence. Then Jenna whispered, she has no idea we have evidence. She thinks she's controlling every step. Good. Let her believe that. We meet at the commission office at 8, I said. We walk in together. You tell them exactly what she did. And you bring nothing with her handwriting on it. Nothing she's touched. Okay. And Jenna, if she pushes you to sign anything tonight, anything at all, say you're dizzy, say you ate something bad, say you're going to bed. No signatures. I won't sign, she promised. Good. I'll see you in the morning. We hung up. I didn't sleep. I sat upright in the driver's seat, reviewing every detail until dawn light eased over the horizon. At 6:20 a.m., Jenna texted again. She's getting ready. She's wearing business clothes. She says today is big. A spike of adrenaline shot through me. She was planning to file something before Jenna arrived. I called immediately. Keep her talking. Act normal. Don't let her leave early. I'll try. I drove to the commission building and parked in a public lot across the street. At 7:48, Jenna's car pulled in. She stepped out looking tense but resolute. Tyler wasn't with her, good. He was already on the school bus by then. At 7:52, a silver Nissan turned the corner. Raina. She wasn't heading toward the commission lot. She was parallel parking across the street, eyes scanning the area like a hawk. Jenna spotted her and whispered, "She's early." I stepped out of my car and approached Jenna. Remember, let her think this is routine. Nothing unusual. Raina crossed toward the building, heels clicking sharp and fast. When she reached us, her smile was thin and bright, like a knife wrapped in Christmas ribbon. "Well," she said, "good to see you both bright and early. Jenna, I brought that paperwork we discussed last night." "No paperwork right now," I cut in calmly. "We're here to clarify recent filings first." Her eyes flicked to me, annoyance flashing. "Mark, this doesn't involve you. It involves my name, my standing, and my son." Before she could retort, the commission office door opened and an administrator called, "Next appointment." I gestured. "After you, Jenna." Inside, the waiting room smelled like stale coffee and disinfectant. A bulletin board held notices for community hearings, bylaw updates, and housing rules. The administrator led us to a small meeting office with a rectangular table and 3 chairs. Raina sat closest to the administrator. Of course she did. She wanted to appear like she belonged there. Jenna sat next to me. I set the folder on the table. The administrator looked at us, pen poised. "How can I help you?" Before Jenna could speak, Raina jumped in. "We need to finalize a request to remove secondary occupancy and expedite a custodial adjustment. The involved party," she gestured loosely toward me, "has been unstable and is refusing to comply with." "No," Jenna said sharply. Raina froze. Jenna's voice didn't waver. "I didn't file a request. I didn't authorize one. And I didn't write the email you received." The administrator blinked. "I'm sorry, what email?" "The one you received 2 weeks ago," I said. "The one stating I was disruptive and needed review." The administrator typed something quickly, brows knitting. Then she turned her monitor slightly. "I'm not seeing any recent communication from your account. Nothing in the last 45 days. A chill crawled up my spine. Raina's confidence visibly cracked. Jenna leaned forward. "Check incoming mail from my home address." A physical form. The administrator opened a digital log, scrolling, clicking, narrowing her eyes. "We have, a torn envelope was received here, yes, but the form inside was incomplete. It wasn't processed. It didn't have any attached signature." I pulled the torn envelope from my folder. "This one?" She inspected it. "Yes. That's the one." Jenna spoke softly but firmly. "I never saw this letter come to my house." The administrator looked confused. "It would have been mailed directly to your address." "Which means someone intercepted it," I said. Raina's face tightened. This is ridiculous. Jenna, tell them you didn't mean for Mark to be involved. Tell them you're overwhelmed and just need. Stop talking, Jenna said. Reina's mouth snapped shut. Jenna reached into the folder and pulled out the signature stamp. My sister has been using my signature stamp without permission. She has been drafting documents in my name. She has been contacting third parties pretending to be me. And she has been monitoring my son's devices. The administrator stiffened. This is serious. And, I added, sliding the photos across the table, she cut the doorbell wiring, attempted to isolate the minor resident, and tried to control correspondence. Reina's face went white, then red, then white again. You can't prove any of that. I can, I said. Everything is time-stamped. Everything is documented. Jenna placed the draft email screenshot in front of the administrator. This is her pretending to be me. Notice the middle name. I never use it. The administrator's eyes widened. This would be considered fraudulent communication. Reina shot up from her chair. You two are insane. Jenna, I was trying to help you. I kept your house running. I handled your forms because you were too tired to. That is not your right, Jenna said, voice cold. Reina lifted a hand like she might reach for Jenna's arm, and I shifted, subtle, quiet, but enough that she stopped. The administrator cleared her throat. We'll need to escalate this. And until this is resolved, no filings from your address will be accepted without verified, notarized signatures from both co-owners. Jenna sagged, relief mixing with exhaustion. Reina stared at us like we'd set her plans on fire. The administrator continued, and for the record, secondary occupants cannot be removed without joint consent. That clause only applies to emergency situations or court orders. Not personal disputes. Reina's face cracked. But, she told me. I cut her off. You misinterpreted legal paperwork to manipulate a family. Reina's shoulders dropped all at once, deflating like a balloon losing air. She tried to stand straighter, but she looked smaller now. Exposed. Is that all? She muttered. No, the administrator said. We'll be filing an internal incident report regarding the attempted misuse of custodial forms. Reina swallowed. Hard. And, she added, you are not permitted to sign or submit anything related to this property. Any further attempts will be flagged. Reina stood, jaw trembling with barely contained fury. I was only trying to help. No, Jenna said quietly. You were trying to control. The administrator dismissed us. Jenna and I gathered our things and stepped into the hallway. Reina remained in the office, arguing with a second staff member who had joined after hearing raised voices. The moment we reached the lobby, Jenna exhaled a long, shaky breath. It's over, she whispered. Not quite, I said. We're almost there. Because now we had the legal pieces. But we still needed one more truth. To show Tyler he was finally safe. Jenna and I stepped out into the cold morning air, the automatic doors hissing shut behind us like a soft exhale. My muscles felt wired, like they'd been bracing for impact for days. Jenna looked fragile and fierce all at once, jaw tight, eyes shining, hands still trembling from holding her anger inside in that meeting room. You okay? I asked. She shook her head. No. But I will be. I nodded. Let's go home. She hesitated. Reina, she'll probably try to get there first. She can try, I said. But she won't get far. We drove separately but stayed close. Reina's silver Nissan wasn't in the driveway when we arrived. Good, it meant she was still inside, stewing in the commission office's hallway or frantically Googling legal jargon she'd misunderstood in the first place. The house was quiet, blinds still half closed the way she liked them. Jenna unlocked the door with steady fingers. Inside, the air felt different. Heavy. Suspended. Like the house itself was holding its breath. Jenna glanced around the living room. She reorganized everything. Again. I didn't answer. Instead, I moved toward the hallway where the mail drawer sat locked with the tiny padlock Tyler had mentioned. With Jenna's permission, I snapped a photo, then pried it open with a flathead screwdriver from my jacket pocket. It broke cleanly, cheap hardware always does. Inside, I found exactly what I expected. 2 more envelopes from the commission. One addressed to Jenna. One addressed to me. Both opened. Both resealed badly. I photographed everything. Jenna's voice was soft behind me. I feel sick. You're not the one who should. I kept going, checking the desk drawers, the kitchen, the hallway table, making sure nothing else had been tampered with. I placed each piece of evidence into the folder, marking the times, dates, and locations. The sound of keys at the front door jolted both of us. Jenna stiffened. She's here. The door swung open too quickly, bouncing hard against the stopper. Raina stepped in, cheeks flushed, hair disheveled, breath sharp, papers clenched in one hand. She looked wild, like someone whose plan had just burst into flames. You tricked me, she spat at Jenna. Jenna didn't move. You forged my signature. You tried to separate my son from his father. And you lied to every part of my life. I protected you. Raina snapped. From him. She jabbed a finger toward me. You're blind, Jenna. He abandoned you once. He'll do it again. Jenna's voice didn't rise. He's never abandoned Tyler. Raina barked an ugly laugh. You are too emotional to make decisions. I was helping. Cleaning up. Organizing. Fixing what you couldn't. You went through our mail, Jenna said. You hacked my accounts. You told my son lies about his father. I managed your life. Raina screamed, voice cracking. Then, quieter but more venomous, and I did it better than you ever could. Every instinct in me wanted to step between them, to shield Jenna from the venom she'd never deserved. But Jenna held up a hand. No, she said. I need to say this. She took a small step forward. You didn't help me. You controlled me. You isolated Tyler. You tried to push Mark out of his life. And you made me feel incapable. That's not love. That's manipulation. Raina's face contorted. You ungrateful. I stepped in then, calm but firm. Raina, it's over. She whirled on me. You don't get to tell me what to do. You don't belong in this house. This house, I said quietly, legally requires both Jenna's and my signatures for any changes. The commission confirmed that this morning. Your filing attempts have been flagged. And you're not allowed to submit anything, ever. Her lips trembled. You went behind my back. You went behind ours first. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Just shaking breath and seething fury. Then the front door opened again. Tyler stepped in, backpack slung low, eyes wide the second he saw all 3 of us. He froze. Mom. Dad. Aunt Raina. Raina plastered on a smile so fast it looked painful. Tyler, sweetheart. No, I said gently. Stop. Tyler swallowed hard. What's happening? Jenna crouched slightly, meeting his eyes. We went to the commission office. We told them everything. They know your aunt wasn't supposed to handle our paperwork. Tyler's gaze darted to Raina. A mix of fear and relief washed across his face. So, you know. Yes, Jenna said. We know. Tyler looked at me. Dad, am I in trouble? My chest tightened. No. You did everything right. Something in him broke open. He let out a shivering breath, his shoulders trembling with weeks, months, of bottled tension. Raina stepped forward. Tyler, they're twisting things. I've been taking care of you. Tyler flinched. Not dramatically. Not violently. But enough. Enough for Jenna to see it. Enough for me to feel it in my bones. That tiny movement did what no legal document could. It told the truth. You scared him, Jenna said. You monitored him. You isolated him. You made him feel unsafe in his own home. Raina's mask shattered. You're both insane. All three of you. You need me. You have no idea how chaotic your life will be without. No, Jenna said coldly. You need us. You needed control. You needed a place to feel important. But this isn't your home. And Tyler is not your responsibility. That's not fair, Raina whispered. It's the truth. I stepped forward. Let me make this simple. You need to gather your things and leave. Today. Her mouth opened. Closed. Open again. I'm not. Now, Jenna said. Silence. Then Raina's composure crumpled like wet paper. She spun around, grabbed her tote bag from the floor, and stormed to the guest room. Drawers slammed. Hangers clattered. Bags thudded. All punctuated by angry, muttering half-sentences about betrayal and ingratitude. Tyler walked to me, slow, steady. Dad, is she really leaving? Yes, I said. She can't hurt anyone here anymore. He nodded, eyes bright. Then, after a long pause, he hugged me. Hard. Like the hug he'd wanted to give me days ago but couldn't. At last, the front door flew open as Raina dragged her overstuffed bags outside. She stomped down the steps, fumbled with her keys, and finally jammed the ignition of her Nissan so hard the engine squealed. Before driving off, she glared at us through the windshield. This isn't over. This time, I didn't look away. Yes, I said softly. It is. Her tires screeched as she peeled out of the driveway. Silence settled behind her like dust after a storm. For the first time all week, the house felt like a home again. Tyler exhaled shakily. Dad? Yeah, buddy. He pointed to the hallway. Can we fix things? All of us. I put a hand on his shoulder. We just started. Jenna wiped her eyes. We're going to rebuild. Together. Tyler nodded slowly, then smiled. A real smile. But as the relief washed over all of us, I realized something. Storms leave debris. And even though Raina was gone, one last truth still needed to surface. The truth about the forged signature she almost used. And the real reason she'd been so desperate to rush everything. The house felt lighter with every passing minute after Raina drove away, like someone had finally opened a window after months of stale air. Jenna walked into the kitchen first, resting both hands on the counter as if grounding herself. Tyler hovered a few steps behind her, rubbing the strap of his backpack the way he used to when he was 5 and overwhelmed. I stood near the doorway, giving them space but staying close. It was the first moment in days when none of us were pretending. Jenna broke the silence. I'll call the locks company today. We're changing everything, door, mailbox, the Wi-Fi login, all of it. Tyler nodded, looking toward me. Dad, are you still allowed to stay here? I mean, officially. Yes, I said. Legally nothing changed. The commission confirmed it. Clause 14b didn't apply. She just made it sound like it did. Tyler exhaled, shoulders sagging in relief. I thought she was going to kick you out. I thought she could. You don't need to worry about that anymore, I said. She doesn't get to decide anything in this house. He looked at his mother then. Mom, why didn't you see what she was doing? The question wasn't sharp. It wasn't accusatory. It was a frightened kid searching for reassurance. Jenna closed her eyes, breathed, and knelt so she was eye level with him. Because I was tired, she whispered. And I let her help with small things. Then big things. And I didn't realize she was taking over. That's on me. But I see it now. I promise I do. Tyler nodded slowly. The moment wasn't perfect, but it was honest. Honest mattered more. I walked to the living room and picked up the folder, the evidence inside heavy with everything we'd fought to uncover. There's one more thing we need to talk about, I said gently. Jenna straightened. What is it? I placed a single paper on the dining table. The forged affidavit draft, the one with Jenna's typed name but the wrong middle initial. The one meant to authorize a custodial adjustment and property change. Tyler stepped closer, brow furrowed. What does that one mean? Jenna's face went still. She studied the form, fingers trembling again. This wasn't just about pushing Mark away. I nodded. No. She was preparing something else. Something bigger. Tyler blinked. Like what? I hesitated, careful. This document would have changed who could make decisions in the home if Mom became incompetent to manage household duties. Tyler's expression froze, confusion mixing with fear. Like, if Mom got sick. Exactly, I said. It would have given someone else the authority to act as temporary guardian. Someone who wasn't me. Jenna's breath caught. She told me last week I looked pale. Said I should rest more. Said she'd take care of things if I ever needed a break. She covered her mouth, horrified. She was setting up the paperwork to become guardian. To take Tyler. A cold silence fell. Then Tyler whispered, she wanted to take me away. Jenna wrapped her arms around him immediately, holding him tight. No. She wanted control. Not you. Not your life. Control over everything she touched. But we stopped her. You helped stop her. His face pressed into her shoulder, and he didn't speak for a few seconds. Just breathed. I turned away to give them privacy, walking toward the porch. I needed air, something clean that didn't carry lemon cleaner, shredded paper, or dread. The afternoon sunlight streamed across the lawn, and for the first time all week, it didn't feel like a spotlight exposing every fracture in our family. It felt warm. Footsteps followed me. Soft ones. Tyler's. Dad? I looked down. Yeah, buddy. He fidgeted with the bracelet, the metal one he'd made. I didn't know how to tell you. I wanted to. But she watched everything. And when you came to the house that day, his voice wavered. She was right behind the door. She told me if I opened it, she'd tell Mom I'd been sneaking out at night. But I never sneaked out. She was making it up. I know, I said. You didn't do anything wrong. He swallowed. I was scared you'd be mad. I shook my head. Never. Not for protecting yourself. Not for freezing in a moment someone shouldn't have put you in. He nodded, eyes brightening a little. I dropped the brass key on purpose, he said quietly. I thought you'd know what it meant. I smiled. I did. You were braver than you think. He touched the bracelet and gave me a small grin. That's why I made it. We went back inside together. Jenna was already on the phone canceling Raina's access to every shared account. She ended the call, shoulders lowering as if bricks were falling off her back one by one. I also called my building's HR office, she said. I told them to ignore any communication Raina made on my behalf. They said they'd flag everything. Good, I said. We're cleaning the slate. A knock at the door made all three of us jump. Jenna froze. If that's her. It's not, I said, stepping forward. When I opened the door, Mrs. Hanley stood there in her oversized red sock sweatshirt, holding a casserole dish like she was posing for a charity cookbook. "I heard raised voices earlier," she said bluntly. "And I saw that silver car tear down the street like a bat out of, well, somewhere. Everything all right?" Jenna opened her mouth, but I shook my head subtly. Not because I didn't trust the neighbor, but because the story wasn't hers to hear. "We're fine," I said. "Just cleaning up some things." Mrs. Hanley looked at me for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. Because that woman," she jabbed a thumb toward the road, "never belonged in this neighborhood anyway." Before she left, she handed over the casserole. "For the boy," she said. "He looks thin." Tyler blinked. Thank you." She nodded once, then shuffled off. When the door closed, Tyler whispered, "She scares me a little." "She scares everyone a little," Jenna replied. "It's her charm." We laughed. And I swear, for the first time in months, it wasn't strained. We spent the rest of the afternoon sorting through the house, throwing out everything Raina had rearranged. Jenna scrubbed the fridge. Tyler cleaned his room without being asked. I replaced the doorbell wiring and installed a new camera, this one connected properly, with shared access for both Jenna and me. By evening, the house looked like itself again. At dinner, Tyler ate half the casserole and declared it surprisingly good for something that looks like laundry. Jenna choked on her water laughing. Later, as Tyler sat on the couch doing homework, Jenna approached me by the porch light. "You know this doesn't fix everything," she said softly. "I know. We still have things to work through. As co-parents. As people. I know. But today," she exhaled. "Today, you were steady. You kept us from falling apart." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. She looked toward Tyler. "He's safe again because of you." I let that settle in my chest. Not pride. Not triumph. Just relief. Jenna stepped back inside. I followed. Tyler looked up from his homework. "Dad?" "Yeah." He pointed to the mug on the table, the chipped baseball one I'd brought as a surprise. "Can we use it tomorrow? For hot chocolate?" I smiled. "Yeah. We can." We cleaned up together. No tension. No shadows. No whispered steps in the hallway. Just the three of us. A real family again, even if not a traditional one. Before bed, Tyler handed me the bracelet. "Keep it," he said. "So you remember." "I don't need a bracelet to remember," I said. "But I'll keep it anyway." He smiled. We locked the doors, our doors, turned off the lights, and the house finally rested. The storm had passed. The control had broken. The truth had won. And nothing, not forged signatures, not hidden clauses, not fear, would slam a door between us again.